Welcome to Mindset in Stone podcasts, where we dive deep into the most compelling books on the shelf. Join hosts Dave and Poppy as they uncover the stories, themes, and ideas that shape our understanding and inspire curiosity. Get ready to explore the big ideas that leave a lasting impact. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Mindset in Stone podcast. This is where we take your sources, peel back the layers, and extract the knowledge you need to live your most informed life.
Today, we are diving deep into what is, I think, the ultimate guide to self-actualization. Jen Sincero's You Are a Badass, How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life.
We got this source material from our listener, the learner, who was looking for a blueprint, not just some philosophical inspiration, but a real plan for moving past that feeling of being stuck in a life that feels, just lukewarm.
That's exactly it. And this isn't just a feel-good book. Sincero gives you this comprehensive and often screamingly funny roadmap for really identifying and then dismantling the core psychological barriers that stop us.
The things that prevent us from achieving our true greatest potential.
Yeah. And she frames this whole transformation not as some distant goal, but as a decision that's available to us, right now.
So our mission today is to really get into that, to go from just wanting to change your life, which, let's be honest, anyone can do while flipping through a magazine on the couch, to fully deciding to change your life.
We're pulling out the specific practical tools to make that quantum leap. This is all about having the cojones, as Sincero so bluntly puts it, to show up every single day as the brightest, happiest, most badass version of yourself.
And being ready to actually accept the success you say you want.
So we have to start at the root of the problem. If we're all born capable of being these, rock stars of our own lives, why is it so incredibly hard to access that potential?
Yeah. Why do we spend so much time hiding behind the couch instead?
Well, it requires us to unpack this fundamental conflict that exists inside every single one of us. The split between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. We're all deeply familiar with the conscious mind. This is the analytical part of the brain, your frontal lobe, and it's always busy. It's obsessing about that meeting next week or trying to remember if you paid the gas bill.
It's that relentless, hyper-aware narrator of our lives. It just spins and spins, and frankly, it's exhausting.
It is. But here's the crucial detail the book just hammers home. That conscious, analytical mind doesn't fully develop until around puberty.
And that's a huge gap in time.
And this is where the trouble really starts. The subconscious mind, on the other hand, is completely non-analytical. It operates entirely on feelings, on instinct, fully developed the second we arrive on Earth. And the key factor, it believes everything it hears without the slightest filter. It literally lacks the capacity for skepticism or critical thought.
So even the most ridiculous, self-limiting junk, I think that's hard for people to really grasp, that the deepest foundation of their adult personality was formed by just a series of unfiltered data dumps.
Sincero points out we take in all this information when we're small kids, and not just through words. It's through the frowns, the heavy sighs, the raised eyebrows, the whole energy of the people around us. And because we have zero ability to logically filter any of it, it all gets lodged in our squishy little subconscious minds as undeniable absolute truth. These become our core beliefs.
So if you were constantly told, maybe just passively by watching your parents struggle, that money is evil or nobody in our family is successful, or maybe something like intimacy always leads to pain, your subconscious stores that not as an opinion,
but as a factual law of the universe. And this is the great conflict that leads to so much self-sabotage. The conscious adult self, the one who's listening to this deep dive right now, desperately wants a six-figure income or a loving soulmate.
But that old programming is running in the background.
Constantly. And it's overriding the conscious desire every single time. It's the perfect description of driving with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake.
So if your conscious desire is a soulmate, but the deep subconscious belief is intimacy leads to pain, the subconscious will always win.
Always. And the result is that ringless finger Sincero talks about, or a repeating pattern of short, destructive relationship.
Or take the person who desperately wants to lose weight.
Right. But deep down, their subconscious might believe, people aren't safe. I need to build a shield to protect myself. That core belief prevents change. It results in what the book colorfully calls a fortress of flab. The weight is literally protection.
I really appreciate that the book doesn't let you off the hook. You can't just, blame the dog or light some incense on the front porch.
Exactly. You can try to fix the surface issue, the lack of money, the relationship problems. But until you go out of the house and locate that dead skunk of a belief, The odor is going to linger. It'll stink up your whole reality.
And what's the main force that's dedicated to keeping that skunk buried, to keeping us stuck?
That would be what Sincero calls the big snooze, or the BS for short, the ego.
Now, I usually think of the ego as, arrogance or being conceited. Why does she call it the big snooze?
She kind of redefines it here. In this context, the big snooze isn't really about bragging. It's the shadow self. It's the part of you that operates from a place of chronic fear.
So its job is fear-based.
Entirely. Its sole job is to keep you safely confined in your comfort zone. It works overtime to convince you that the known mediocre reality is way better than the unknown.
It's a defense mechanism then. And it's based on all those limiting false beliefs we picked up as kids.
Right. The BS is reactive. It believes things like, my circumstances control my life. I am a victim. And it desperately seeks validation from outside sources to feel like it's worthy.
And the alternative to that.
That's the true self, your higher self, your superhero self. That self operates from a place of connection, love-based motivation, and proactive creation. It finds validation internally, I love and trust myself, and it's committed to creating a reality based on limitless potential.
So the whole challenge is figuring out which self is driving the bus at any given moment.
Which is hard because most of us are so wrapped up in that BS chatter that we're settling for realities far beneath what's actually available. This is where we need to start dragging out those hidden beliefs.
Which brings us to our first practical takeaway, the awareness audit.
Yes. The first key to freedom is simply becoming intensely aware of those stinky carcasses, because you absolutely cannot fix what you refuse to acknowledge.
And the action step for this is deceptively simple, but it can be incredibly revealing. You just look at an area of your life you're less than impressed with. Money, health, relationships, whatever it is.
And you write down the first 5 gut-level beliefs that immediately come to mind when you think about that area. No filtering.
So if you pick money, is your list full of confidence and excitement?
Or does it include phrases like fear and loathing, struggle, or it's always feast or famine? This exercise is so vital because it helps you identify the inherited illusions, the stories you adopted from other people that are running your life without your permission.
It's really about answering the question, what toxic stories did I inherit? What did my parents say or imply about success?
It could be something like, I'll have to do things I hate in order to make money. Or, if I get too successful, my friends won't like me anymore. You have to see the story clearly to realize it's an illusion, not a fact.
They lose their power.
Their subconscious power, yes. This is the starting point for rewriting your internal script, giving those limiting beliefs the heave-ho, and finally creating space for new, awesome beliefs to take hold. It requires that kind of surgical precision, to identify the root cause.
Okay, so identifying the problem is step 1. But to truly rewrite that script, we need a major inner shift. We have to raise our frequency, and this starts with what Sincero calls the G word.
Yes, and the book really requires an open mind here. Sincero is emphatic about it. Stay open or else you are screwed. We're talking about the spiritual foundation that underlies all self-transformation.
Right, and you can call it whatever you want.
The terminology is secondary. What matters is developing an awareness of and a relationship with the limitless power that is both all around you and inside you.
For the learner who might be a little skeptical of terms like the universe, Sincero actually grounds this in physics. She's essentially applying Tesla's ideas to life goals.
And it's built on 3 key points. 1, the universe is made up of source energy.
2, all energy vibrates at a certain frequency, which means you, your desires, your problems, your potential, everything is vibrating.
And 3, this is the crux of the law of attraction. Vibration attracts like vibration. The basic, non-fluffy idea is that if you focus on what makes you feel good, you raise your frequency, and you attract more things that match that high vibration.
It's that connection to source energy that allows people to manifest things with such speed and specificity that it can often feel like magic.
And what's so critical is the energetic component of action. The book argues that unless your energy, your vibration, is properly lined up with what you desire, any action you take is going to require way more effort to get you where you want to go.
It's like trying to pull a bus with a bicycle.
That's a perfect analogy. Action without that alignment is just exhausting struggle.
That makes so much sense. We've all had those moments where things just flowed, everything seemed easy. That was probably a moment of alignment where your energy matched the frequency of the result.
And the way we access that flow state more often brings us directly to the importance of being fully present, or, as the chapter title says, present as a pigeon.
I love that. The Lao Tzu quote Sincero uses here frames the issue perfectly. If you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present.
And if we're constantly wrapped up in our heads, stuck worrying about potential future outcomes or chewing on past mistakes, we're missing the full-blown miracle that's happening right now.
We miss the opportunity to connect with Source, to raise our frequency, and to even notice the opportunities that are right in front of our faces.
And this is where the concept pivots into a really fascinating area. Sincero argues that all the success, the money, the opportunities, the ideas we're fixated on creating, they already exist. They are here now.
We just aren't accessing them.
Right. Think about electricity before the light bulb was invented. The power was there, the energy was everywhere, but people weren't aware of its existence. They didn't know how to channel it.
So we haven't figured out how to manifest the life we want because we're stuck in our minds too focused on the past or future to download the information that's available right here in the present.
The life you want is right here. We are just not yet aware of its existence.
Okay, so we need some practical daily methods to rewire the brain and constantly pull ourselves out of that big snooze chatter and into this high vibe present reality.
Precisely. And that leads to our second practical takeaway. Drowning yourself in affirmations. This is a really powerful daily tool to turn the ship around, to directly counter those inherited subconscious beliefs we identified earlier.
But this isn't just about, reading a nice sticky note once a day. The key, according to Sincero, is consistency and, most importantly, feeling it. Why does the feeling part matter so much?
Well, it connects directly to the neuroplasticity of the brain. The brain resists new information that contradicts its core programming. So if you just rattle off words, I am rich, I am worthy, while your inner voice is screaming, lies, you're broke, then the affirmation does nothing.
It just bounces off.
Exactly. You have to infuse it with genuine, felt emotion and energy. You're trying to bypass that critical, analytical, conscious mind that judges the affirmation as nonsense by linking the thought directly to the emotional center of the brain.
So you're impressing new positive thoughts into that giant thinking substance of source energy by marrying the thought with the emotion.
The action is simple, but it requires dedication. Write affirmations that specifically counter your limiting beliefs. Stick them on your mirror, your fridge, your dashboard, and repeat them constantly, making sure they are felt and wanted. You have to really get worked up by the affirmation for the brain to absorb the new truth.
And this high vibe state is further supported by our third takeaway, which I love, proactive joy.
This is such a critical piece of self-love. If you constantly deny yourself the things that truly make you feel alive, whether that's a painting class or an expensive piece of art you love, or just a pair of completely impractical but awesome shoes.
You're sending a lousy message home.
You are. You're reinforcing that old subconscious belief that you are unworthy of joy and abundance.
So the action here is pretty radical for a lot of people. Make enjoying your life a genuine priority. Actually schedule activities that make you lose track of time, that get you into what Sincero calls the vortex, that feeling of flow.
This is all about proactively creating a life you are obsessed with loving, instead of just meekly living the one you think you're stuck with. And for those listeners who are chronic people pleasers, who are used to putting everyone else first,
This can be really hard.
it can. But the book's message is very direct. Start putting your own needs up front. You're not selfish for prioritizing yourself. You are simply a happier one. If you're happier and more vibrant, you have exponentially more to give to others.
The underlying command is simple. Take care of yourself as if you're the most awesome, badass person you've ever met. Because you are.
Okay, so awareness and a high frequency are foundational. But they're pretty much meaningless without the third pillar, the almighty decision.
And this is that massive chasm between wanting a better life and fully committing to it. Wanting is passive. Deciding means full, non-negotiable commitment.
It means keeping yourself moving toward your goal, regardless of temporary failure, cost, or the risk of looking like an absolute moron.
That commitment is what transforms the energetic landscape. You referenced the legendary explorer W.H. Murray, who said, "The moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too."
When you make that decisive, no-nonsense decision, you're signing up fully, and the universe actually starts rearranging itself to meet that commitment.
There's a perfect historical illustration of this mindset, the Henry Ford V8 anecdote, which Sincero uses to show what commitment really looks like.
Yeah, so Ford was determined to create an 8-cylinder engine cast in one single block, a huge engineering breakthrough at the time.
And he brought the idea to his engineers, and what did they say?
Unanimously, they told him it is impossible. It couldn't be done with the existing technology or methods.
And Ford's response wasn't to compromise or, scale back the vision.
Not at all. He simply told them it can be done and it will be done. Get back to work. They came back months later with the same answer. He insisted again, demanding they keep at it.
And it wasn't until a full year.
A full year, driven by his unshakable insistence, that they finally discovered the solution and successfully cast the V8 block. That tenacity, that unshakable belief in the vision before it exists, that's the mindset required.
Without that level of commitment, the moment things get hard or expensive or uncomfortable, which they will, you'll quit.
And quitting is often just disguised as self-sabotage, usually showing up as procrastination or perfectionism. This is a huge point for the learner because we all use these tools.
Oh, definitely.
Procrastination is so popular because it lets us feel busy while we're accomplishing nothing essential. But Sincero notes that most of the time, when we say we're unqualified or not ready, what we're truly saying is we're too scared to try.
You're trying to protect yourself from failure, even though, as the book says, passion trumps fear.
And that's the ego arguing for safety. The book counters that with, we all know way more than we give ourselves credit for knowing. The resources you need often appear after you commit.
Which is a huge leap of faith.
It is. But if you're serious about changing your life, the goal is finding a way, not finding another excuse.
That distinction leads us right to our fourth practical takeaway, which is designed to defeat that perfectionism monster. Momentum over perfection.
Yes. The mantra here should be posted everywhere in your life. Done is better than perfect. Nobody cares or will even notice if your first attempt isn't 100% flawless.
And frankly, nothing ever will be perfect anyway.
Exactly. The paralysis that's caused by seeking perfection is just a highly sophisticated form of procrastination.
I love the freedom in that idea. Just get the minimum viable product out there. Get the website up, send out the mailer, book the gig, write the first chapter, even if you're not totally ready and you feel slightly embarrassed by the quality.
Because momentum is so highly underrated, the best way to get things done is to already be rolling along. That initial imperfect action creates a feedback loop that gives you the information you need to improve the next version.
And what about for those of us who are chronic, high-functioning procrastinators?
The book has some great pragmatic advice for that. Own it and work with it. If you know you do your best work under pressure, figure out exactly how much time you truly need. Maybe it's 4 hours.
And then just go have fun until that clock starts ticking.
Yes. Avoid wasting time pretending to work or stressing out while you're trying to have fun. That's the worst, most energy-draining compromise there is.
Okay, moving from action to purpose, we have to talk about finding your unique calling. That agony of indecision, of spending months just rolling ideas around in your head. She calls it the restrictive veil pen.
And here's a core truth of the book. Most answers reveal themselves through doing, not thinking. You don't need the 10-step master plan laid out before you start. You just need to take one step that feels right and then keep following those right feeling steps.
Sincero herself is a perfect example of this. She attended a women's entrepreneurial think tank, just hoping to get some ideas. She had no intention of being a coach.
But that single first right step, that action, led directly to the creation of her entire coaching practice and eventually this book.
So, to help the learner break out of those boring ruts and habitual excuses, the book offers a really fantastic mental exercise. Be the alien.
I love this one. You step outside yourself and then step back into your life as an alien, someone completely free from all the baggage, all the excuses, all the inherited beliefs.
And you look around and ask, what is this person I've just inhabited obviously awesome at? What would this new uninhibited version of me do with this life starting right now?
It's designed to highlight the staggering possibilities and talents that we often just take for granted because we've been living with them for so long. It gives you objective clarity.
And then there's the even more audacious method, follow your fantasies.
Yes, your fantasies, those outrageous, exciting visions you conjure up when you're staring at a train window, are the most revealing peepholes into who we are. They are your realities in an excuse-free world.
So if you secretly fantasize about singing on Broadway, don't just dismiss it as a stupid pipe dream.
Right. Someone is out there doing it. The challenge is that we often pretend we aren't clear on our calling because we're terrified to face it. It seems too big, too impossible. But if you have the audacity to leave the shame and excuses behind and really go for the fantasy, that would be living.
So the fantasies aren't just random distractions.
Not at all. They're the true self trying to communicate the path forward, and we owe it to ourselves to at least explore the very first small action step toward them.
All right, so the learner has identified their blocks, done the inner shift to raise their frequency, and made the almighty decision to act. Now, we enter a phase that catches so many people off guard. The big snooze fights back.
This is one of the most critical sections in the entire book because it completely redefines failure and chaos. When you take a great leap forward, the big snooze, the ego, creates chaos and a desperate last-ditch attempt to self-sabotage and pull you back.
Back to the mediocre status quo. Sincero warns that this is a detox of staggering proportions. Your life often turns to shit before it turns to shinola.
I mean, you are murdering the big snoozin', and it is going to come at you with everything it has.
And this chaos, unexpected accidents, broken stuff, sudden drama, financial setbacks, this should absolutely not be taken as a sign from the universe to quit.
It is proof. It is proof that you are ridding yourself of your BS and moving in the right direction. The turbulence is a sign of powerful, energetic change.
The book shares an incredible anecdote about a client of hers who quit his secure, high-paying job to start his dream company, a massive leap of faith.
And immediately after, the BS hit the fan with brutal force. Within a short period, he got 2 flat tires. Then his car was hit by his babysitter. Then his water main exploded, causing thousands in damage.
And then to top it all off,
He was hit by a city bus.
that is just a staggering level of resistance. Any rational person would have taken that as a sign, packed it in, and gone back to their safe old job.
But he didn't. He never gave up. He recognized the chaos for what it was, proof he was up-leveling. He stayed the course, eventually secured his first major deal, and now he is living his dream life.
The lesson is, if you decide to open the pastry shop of your dreams, do not be upset if a truck drives through your front window into your scones.
It means you are growing.
This whole internal battle is largely about dealing with fear. Fear is always there, ready to wreak havoc, but Sincero says the most critical power we have is the choice of whether or not to engage with it.
And fear is ultimately illusionary. Fear lives in the future. Most of it is all made up because it hasn't even happened yet. The decision becomes a simple choice of faith.
Is your faith in the unknown and your faith in your own true self greater than your fear of the made-up future?
A great technique the book suggests for diminishing fear's power is to view fear from your rearview mirror.
Right. Think about a radical, terrifying thing you did in the past, asking someone out, a huge presentation, moving to a new city. How scary is it now, looking back?
It's nothing. A pipsqueak memory. By intentionally envisioning your current terrifying challenge from the future, looking back from a place of victory, it instantly loses so much of its power to paralyze you right now.
When facing the unknown, we also need the power of surrender. This seems counterintuitive to the almighty decision we just talked about. Isn't surrender just giving up?
Not at all. Surrender isn't about giving up the desire. It's about releasing your kung fu grip on how that desire has to manifest. It's trusting the universe to deliver, or to deliver something even better than you initially envisioned.
It's allowing instead of forcing.
The famous analogy is chasing the butterfly with a net. That's forcing, controlling, worrying. The alternative is standing still until the butterfly lands on your nose. That's surrendering, allowing, trusting. Worry is resistance. Faith is surrender.
So you hand the job over to the universe, believing that if your desire is aligned with your purpose and you've done the work, it will come back to you in the right time, in the right way.
Let's transition to maybe the most concrete area of resistance for most people, money. The book dedicates a lot of space to healing your money relationship.
Because money is energy, and our deep-seated beliefs about it create massive energetic resistance.
We get caught in what Sincero calls a one-sided dialogue with money. We might consciously say, I want lots of it, but at the same time we're thinking, people who have money are evil, selfish pigs.
Or, I hate dealing with money, but I constantly worry about it and obsess over every penny.
And that energy mismatch, the repulsion and attraction happening at the same time, is why so many people who work their asses off are left wondering why they have nothing to show for it. They're energetically repelling the very thing they're chasing.
So our fifth practical takeaway is the action required to address this head-on.
Yes, action. Write a letter to money. Just outline all your crazy conflicting feelings, the resentment, the fear you feel when the bank account dips, the guilt you feel about wanting more. Get it all out there.
Then sentence by sentence, you challenge those deeply ingrained lies. You rewrite the narrative. Instead of, I resent needing money, you replace it with gratitude. I'm grateful to money for helping me live such an awesome, free life.
It's about rewriting a toxic, inherited story. And it takes conscious effort to drill those new positive beliefs into your brain, replacing the old stinky carcasses with empowered financial thought.
This ties right into our sixth takeaway, which addresses that constant financial anxiety, setting a new financial bottom line. This is about getting out of that perpetual panic and struggle mode, which is a very low vibration state.
We often only take massive loops or execute brilliant ideas when we have to, we're putting out a major financial fire. The goal is to become the kind of person who is not constantly behind the eight ball.
So, the action step. Decide you will always, non-negotiably, have a certain minimum amount, say $2,000 or $5,000 in your bank account, and you refuse to let it drop below that figure.
And that non-negotiable decision creates a kind of self-imposed urgency. If you see the balance creeping close to your new, higher bottom line, it forces you to generate income proactively, a much higher energy state, instead of only reacting when the rent is due and you're paralyzed by fear.
You shift from victim mode to action mode, and the universe responds to that clarity.
And finally, to seal all of this work, the awareness, the high frequency, the action, the commitment, we need a clear, constant vision of who we are becoming. This brings us to the seventh and final takeaway. Write your manifesto.
This is your vision of your ideal life, written in the present tense, and read religiously. It's not a wish list, it's a declaration of your new reality.
And you have to be specific. Detail where you live, who you're with, the work you do, how much money you make, what you wear. Make it so freaking awesome that you can't read it without feeling intensely emotional.
Action. Read this manifesto to yourself before bed and immediately upon waking up. Every single day. You need to become emotionally obsessed with it.
The more vividly and consistently you focus on who you are becoming, the faster you will use the power of your thoughts and your emotions to create that new reality.
We've covered the complete roadmap to becoming a true badass. From identifying those stinky carcasses of subconscious blocks with the awareness audit, to raising your frequency through self-love and affirmations, all the way to making that almighty decision to act.
We've also given you the tools to harness resistance, fear, and even your complex relationship with money to work for you. Ultimately, defining your own bottom line and creating your ideal reality through your daily manifesto.
Your entire experience on this planet is determined by how you choose to perceive your reality, and you have the power to change that illusion the moment you choose to change your thinking and commit to action. Don't waste time on excuses or drama. The life you want is available today the moment you decide to claim it.
The core lesson here is courage in the face of immense growth. Remembering that the chaos you face is often just proof that you are winning. We'll leave you with this final thought from The Journey to Blossoming, adapted from the poet Anais Nin. Think about one small, specific action, a scary phone call, an affirmation repeated with real feeling, or simply a moment of genuine self-care that you have been delaying out of fear. And remember that the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. Choose to blossom now. Love yourself.
We hope you're leaving with fresh insights and a spark of inspiration. Remember to subscribe, leave a review, and check back for more episodes as we dive into new worlds of thought, one book at a time. Until then, keep your mind set in stone and your curiosity open. This has been a Big L Riz Media podcast, where big ideas meet lasting impressions.